The national leader of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, says Nigeria is competing with bandits to recruit unemployed youth. The former governor of Lagos says the country is under-policed while grappling with a high rate of unemployment. He has therefore called on the federal government to recruit at least 15 million youths into the army to boost the fight against terrorism, banditry, and other security threats. 50 million youths. That means we'll have the largest army in the world.
I don't understand it, to be honest with you. As in, it just comes across to me as quite a superficial solution.
50 million?
Yes, it's like trying to just put them somewhere. They're unemployed, let them do something. But it's not about doing something. It's about gainful employment. It's about fulfillment of your destiny, which your country should provide an enabling environment for you to do. It's not about just, just shove them, like sweeping a problem under a carpet. It's a very superficial solution. The problem is a lot more complex than that. And if the resources exist to hire and pay 50 million Nigerian youths, surely those resources would be better channeled towards training and assistance for people to actually find their true vocation and their true passion, instead of just chucking them in the military like it's that simple, slapping a Band-Aid when you actually need surgery. I mean, it does happen in countries like America when you have an economic downturn. You see like an uptick in military recruitment, but that is because the pay of active U.S. military continues to increase. They're paid, quite well, unlike what we hear here with meager salaries, poor rations, just chucking 50 million youths, whether or not they have that inclination or desire into that field, for me, is really completely off the mark.
Dr. Batu?
Well, first, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu made this statement on the occasion of his 69th birthday, the 12th colloquium, the Bola Tinubu colloquium, with the theme, Our Common Bond, Our Commonwealth. And this is a colloquium that is held almost on an annual basis, and this is the 12th one. And he was speaking in response to the revelation by the National Bureau of Statistics that unemployment rate in Nigeria is about 33.3%, and that 23 million Nigerian youths are out of work. Hence, he came up with this proposal, I guess maybe perhaps at one level to generate debate, since we all say, okay, we should debate national issues and bring ideas to the table. So the thing for the rest of us to do is to interrogate this suggestion. How feasible is it? You want to get 50 million Nigerian youths employed. Okay, the right place, he says the army. Should it be only the army? Perhaps we don't have enough soldiers. We don't even know how many soldiers Nigeria has. Oftentimes the figures are so vague. We don't even know how many policemen that we have. There's a problem in that regard. So you want to build this massive army of 50 million youths. But if you look at the details of his recommendations, that's where you then get worried. He was saying that education or literacy is not an issue. Anybody that can just carry a gun, you give the gun to that person to go and fight bandits. So that makes it look quite, a bizarre kind of a suggestion. Because one of the arguments we've been putting up is that part of the problem with Nigeria's security agencies, particularly the police, is the level of understanding, the level of education, and in fact, people have even asked that the level should be raised in terms of educational qualification. And the assumption is that, when people are educated, they are likely to be easier to manage. And now you have the leader of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party of Nigeria, saying, look, any area boy that can just shoot, should be given a gun and go and fight the bandits. The second leg of it is that many people will find this also very strange. If Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's interest is in creating employment, okay, why is he not advising government to provide an enabling environment for the education sector to thrive, so that Nigeria can produce more competent, more skillful people who can help deepen the country's capacity to compete? Why is he not talking about what can be done about the economy to make sure that all those factories that have now been turned into churches, places of religious worship, can return to their original format, whereby in this same Lagos and elsewhere, we had people who had gainful employment, Okay?
Yes.
That's the second issue. The third issue is that he's talking about people going to fight bandits. 50 million Nigerian youths. These are the same 50 million Nigerian youths who are already disoriented. Most of them do not, in fact, anymore believe in the idea of Nigeria. They are even questioning the idea of Nigeria. Do they want to go and fight bandits? Do they believe in the idea of Nigerian unity? How many of them will be willing to volunteer? I'm sure that these 50 million Nigerian youths, many of them would like to be given the opportunity to work as bankers, to work as engineers, to work as, distinguished journalists, not to go and carry gun and fight bandits and die in the process. They are likely to pose the question to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu that, okay, will he also add one or two of his own children to these people who should go and fight bandits and terrorists? At a time in Nigeria, when even for the National Youth Service Corps, many families will not want their children to go to the troubled parts of Nigeria. However, we would like to congratulate him on the occasion of his 69th birthday. I mean, he's been very consistent in using the occasion of his birthday to bring up issues, big issues about Nigeria. And yet, this year, he has done it again. Well, those 50 million Nigerian youths, I hope they will volunteer. And I hope that their salaries will be paid. The other day, we were complaining about soldiers who, didn't want to fight because they were raising questions about welfare. Mamalari barracks in Borno State. Okay, how many Nigerian youths will want to go and carry a gun so that he will not get salaries? He will fight to keep Nigeria warm. However, one major takeaway from the colloquium, from the 12th Bola Tinubu colloquium, was the focus on the unity of Nigeria. And the president of Nigeria, who joined the occasion, virtually, online, stressed this point about the unity of Nigeria. And it is important to see the president of Nigeria again and again talking about unity, because to keep Nigeria one is the major task that must be done right now.
Unity is key for the development of our country. Thank you so much. That's all on News End Live. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Ruth Sudiri, Michael Wilson, this one more, Aaron and Kerry to give us updates on Africa global business, COVID-19, sporting activities across the globe. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the One News Show right here on the Rise News channel. Let's go straight to it now. Rotus, what's up with business? How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Tundu. Good morning, Doctor. We begin with Nigeria's debt profile. The Debt Management Office has released figures for December 2020. Debt profile has increased to 32.9 trillion naira. That's about $86.3 billion for December 2020. It's an increase of about 2.5% from where we were in September of 2020. The Debt Management Office tends to release these figures quarterly. About 61% of the debt is domestic. About 39% is external. If we take a look at the actual debt profile here, you'll see that it's at the bottom of the screen. So that's where you're looking at amount outstanding. So 86.3 billion in naira terms, 32.9. But here's the interesting thing. If we take a look at the notes, the exchange rates at which this was converted, if we take a look at the debt notes from the DMO, highlighted at the bottom, they're using the exchange rates of 381 naira to the dollar as of December 31st. So you now start to ask yourself, if you were to exchange at the NAFEX rate, if you take a look at the FX rate for NAFEX, it closed at 409. So that external portion of the debt in dollar terms does increase. I mean, from 12.7 trillion naira, which is about $33.3 billion, if you exchange at 409, you're at 13.6 trillion naira. If you exchange if I check my bank, banks are clearing dollar transactions on naira cards at about 420, 422. It increases to 14 trillion. If you dare to use the parallel market rates, it's at 16. So, this is what happens when you've got USD liabilities and multiple windows, although officially you should be using 409. But it's just interesting to point out that the Debt Management Office is using the official CBN rate of 381. We move to the president. He's apparently taking a medical checkup in the UK. And look, I won't dwell on this much. We've been here before. Aso Rock has a health center which is, to the tune, a budget with billions. Whether or not the president is using his personal funds for this medical checkup, he'll be back in the middle of April. There is, of course, the issue of medical tourism, the demand for foreign exchange for Nigerians that go overseas to get checkups. There's also, the fact that we have to develop our own medical sector here. We've had these conversations on and on and on. So once again, the president of Africa's largest economy is jetting off to the UK for what I think Femi Adesina said is a routine medical checkup. So you have to ask whether or not that could not have been done here. To Seplat, Seplat has issued a historic bond offering to the tune of $650 million. And this bond that's been issued by Seplat is the largest one issued by an oil and gas company in Nigeria. Part of the debt is going to be used to pay down a previous bond offering that the senior debt notes is what it's called, but they're bonds, they're IOUs, that they issued in 2018. That was to the tune of $350 million. They're also going to be using it to pay down their credit facility. I think their credit facility is about $360 million. But it was oversubscribed. A number of institutional investors snapped it up, and it's a showing of confidence in the company, which is listed in Nigeria and also in London. Tech news in East Africa: Nokia and Safaricom are joining forces to launch 5G technology in East Africa. This is going to be the first commercially available 5G technology for the East African region. Safaricom is going to be leveraging on Nokia's SRAN, that's their single radio access network, in order to provide 5G. And, look, other countries, Nigeria in particular, has to take note. We're still, I know there's still a bit of a false start with 5G here, where a number of things still have to be worked out, but other countries are moving ahead. And East Africa, Kenya in particular, when it comes to tech, they rival us here in Nigeria. I know we've made a lot of headlines here in Nigeria with all the raises from Paystack and Arise Play and Flutterwave and so on and so forth. But they're doing the work in Kenya. And you think about what 5G offers: accelerated, quick internet access, telemedicine, virtual, augmented reality, and so on and so forth. The benefits are there. Finally, Bolt, still in Kenya. Bolt is launching their Bolt food delivery. They're going to be rivaling Uber Eats and some other companies there. They've partnered with a number of restaurants. So this is them looking for other revenue streams in the East African region by offering food delivery services. It's going to be interesting. Kenya has a new lockdown that they've just announced, I guess in Nairobi and some other parts. But as vaccinations spread and people come out again, it'll be interesting to look at this food delivery model and see how it works.
That's always the go-to for ride-hailing companies. I remember when Uber first started that idea about food delivery, and it's worked well for them. Pretty much, it doesn't do too much, but all it just does is it makes some things look good on your books when your books finally come out in the end. That's all it does. It's not a big profit margin business. It just, gets you there, really, as regards your finances. But I want to go to Safaricom. Safaricom has shown innovation over the years, and I'm not surprised that Safaricom is championing it, And it goes back to leadership. You remember the very stellar leadership of Bob Coleman, of blessed memories, the former pioneering CEO of Safaricom, and how he opened up Safaricom, to that part of Kenya and some other parts. And 5G network coming to Kenya, I know it will definitely open up the Kenya economy. It has been doing well in terms of tech, and it's something we should learn from. We should look at the model that operates in Kenya and to be able to open it up. About debt, for me, debt is not a bad thing, but the question is, what do you do with debt? Debt is good. Really, it's good. But it's more important on how you spend the money for debt, the debt money. Do you use it to create other avenues to be able to regenerate cash in society? And one sure way to do that is infrastructure, social development, and the likes. So can we honestly say we're applying that to what we have done with the debt? And that's what brings up the conversation about the refinery again. 1.5 billion. You want to put in new $1.5 billion to a refinery that takes $10 billion from us every month and doesn't refine any oil and is hemorrhaging us cash, and want to put more 1.5 billion into it?
Well, first,
that is the question.
I think the president's travel is very important, and I think it's a good development that we have been appropriately informed by the spokesperson to the president, that the president tomorrow, Tuesday, or is it today?
Today is
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
That today he will meet with the Security Council, and that after that meeting, he will travel to the UK, and he will return in the second week of April. Now, it's not about the president traveling. You've already addressed the various issues about medical tourism. But we know that since this president assumed office, he had always traveled abroad, and we're told that this time around, it's a routine medical checkup, which means that nobody needs to have any anxiety if it is a routine medical checkup. Given his age, that's understandable. But we hope, again, which is the basic point that people continually make, that Nigeria will reach a level someday as the big country in Africa, the giant of Africa, as we like to describe ourselves, where the president will not need, to engage in medical tourism, either him or members of his family or top officials of government. Now, I hope also that the relevant steps have been taken, that the National Assembly has been appropriately informed, and that there will be no political ambiguity, the kind we experienced in the past, as to who is in charge of the country. The Constitution is very clear. When the president is not on seat, the vice president takes charge. And in the past we had that issue, right, and people wondering whether power was appropriately transmitted to the vice president or not. We don't need that stress at this time. Nigeria is facing a lot of issues. If the president is going to be away for about 2 weeks, yes, the country must be in the safe hands of the vice president, and there should be no politicking around it. We don't need that additional stress. Right. Now, as for the debt profile, the Department of the Debt Management Office, over the years, had always told us that they have a good strategy for managing debt and that it is sustainable. But the question is, there are many Nigerians who say that we're borrowing too much, that we are borrowing to service inefficiency. Right. And this is the whole point. Yes, you can borrow, but what do you do with what you are borrowing? Are you using the debt to finance conspicuous consumption? And as you reported, the bulk of the debt is domestic debt, right? Now, that will go to non-payment of contractors. It will go into the non-payment of salaries. Now, what is the government, either at the federal government level or at the state level, doing with those, debts that are incurred? To such an extent that, domestic debt is such a big problem. And when would that debt be defrayed? Because most of it is in terms of how, finances are managed. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Francis. Really appreciate you. We'll move on to Michael Wilson now, that joins us from London. Michael, great to have you.
Yeah, good morning. I'll give you an overview. First of all, it looks like Wall Street appears to have put all that, the liquidation panic that we saw on Friday behind it now. That was related to Archegos Capital Management. The unfortunate liquidation of the fund's assets is not a systemic risk, although apparently US regulators have called the banks in for a bit of a fireside chat, as they put it. Suez Canal is open, but the backlog may still hurt global trade. Those are really the big things as far as the markets are concerned. I'll take you to Asia first of all, moving sideways to slightly higher apart from China markets. Very inconclusive end as far as Wall Street's concerned. Markets which depend upon the Suez Canal being open, sectors are doing obviously quite well. So China markets got that. And also ByteDance in China, latest $250 billion valuation. And also the FTSE Russell, impending inclusion of China's sovereign bonds on its index. Investors actually quite like that. So the Shanghai Composite up over 0.5%. China, its phone company Xiaomi has launched a range of new smartphones. It's now, you and I will be buying this, I don't know, $800 per smartphone and all the rest of it. No, actually, it starts at $914. Beg your pardon, up to $1,000, over $1,000. It's actually getting into the high-end smartphone, which has been left a bit vacant by the void left by Huawei and its various troubles there. So then, let's just do a quick recap of the United States and our Kogi saga. U.S. media stocks, Viacom, Discovery, a few Chinese internet ADRs. There's severe selling pressure on Friday. And it's this multi-billion-dollar family office, Archegos Capital Management. It built huge positions in those, and then of course it had to find the cash to buy some of the when margin calls happened, and it all got very complicated. Anyway, long and short of it is that Nomura, which I told you about yesterday, that's headquartered in Tokyo, has been talking about significant losses, and Credit Suisse amongst other banks affected, but no doubt the fireside chat that the US regulators are planning will try to put that right. The president's Build America, the Build Better package, Biden's Build Better package, appears to be moving to the front page. We'll get the details of that tomorrow. It pushed the US dollar higher again. It probably is going to get paid for in taxes. And we talked briefly, very briefly, about the Amazon union outcome, the union debate there, a union outcome actually happening today. We'll get the results of that. Very, very important for Amazon. It's a key test for them right the way through the world, and also a key test for unions, which Joe Biden has actually been championing as he became president of the United States. US itself is threatening a tech tax on UK. It's warned it could put tariffs of up to 25% on a host of UK imports unless UK tech companies pay higher taxes to the United States. We're talking about these duties are going to raise $325 million. I mean, it's chicken feed, basically. It's more like a gesture politics, I feel, as those tariffs are concerned. Now, this still has to go through legislation. It was imposed by President Trump. He's no longer there, of course. So we still have to, that has to go through the US political process. I'll just take you briefly around the EU markets. We're coming to the end of the quarter. So we got that block trade selling on Friday, which has affected them. But also, given the container ships now apparently been moved in the Suez Canal, we're going to see more volatility towards the end of the quarter. It's going to be obviously a shortened week because of the Easter holidays and so on. So basically, people are actually buying on the dips. That's what they've been doing. No clear trends for the first quarter of the year, but EU markets, despite what's been going on as far as the vaccine travails are concerned, not doing too badly. In the UK, Deliveroo has cut its actual offering share price. It's trying to raise £1 billion. As you know, Aviva, L&G, Aberdeen Standard, M&G will not be taking part in it. They're worried about the power of its co-founder, who will be have about 20 times the voting power as far as his shares are concerned. And also Scottish Mortgage yesterday, that's a major shareholder. People listen to people like that. It's very lukewarm about the offering, saying there's a lot of competition, and also it doesn't really rate very well as far as worldwide is concerned. So that's Deliveroo. Now, by contrast, Kazoo, this is a UK company, quite a good idea. That's what they do, is they sell second-hand cars. So do lots of people. However, what these people do is they take the second-hand cars, they refurbish them, and they bring them to your home, and you have a week to drive around in it to see whether you like it or not. But they are not listing in London. They're saying London is risk-averse. They're going to go to the United States to list. They want to raise $7 billion in their list. It's going to be one of these SPAC things we've been talking about quite regularly. So London has lost out to that huge listing. Now, what do you do in your office to gossip? Do you go to the pub? I bet it's not open. I bet you go around the water cooler, don't you, and have a chat, or the coffee machine, or whatever it may be. Well, there is a competition now. Standard Chartered are trying to keep their workers happy. They're not working in the office. They're working at home. So they've come up with a competition to see who can design some kind of software to keep all the happy people that work for Standard Chartered even happier. So they've got a holographic water cooler, which they will actually all cluster around and swap office gossip. That's number one. They're also doing things for example, to highlight where their workers actually live locally, so that they can link up outside the office. Who knows if we're going back to the office or not? That's the question there. Commodities, well, we've got OPEC Plus coming up, of course, beginning of April. So, and we've got the Suez Canal kind of blockage cured. That is keeping the oil price at, I've got 61.80 for WTI here and 65.15 for Brent crude. So it's still spiked up, but, you know, who knows? And gold, well, gold bugs, not very happy at the moment. It's going down to, but 1720 an ounce is the latest I've got. It's finding a bit of support there, but not really, not really a world for gold bugs, really. That's your global view.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Well, I'm all for the water cooler moments when it comes to my favorite topic, the movies. So I'm glad to see that's going to keep going, because I did raise it with you once. The fact that working from home, you lose intangibles like office culture, office bonding, officially and unofficial. And I wanted to talk to you about this move from the US. I'm quite baffled. What is wrong with the UK taxing tech firms fairly? Surely, you know, ensures fair competition, boosts revenue. We should all be taxing tech firms, quite frankly. Why is the US resisting? What happens to the special relationship?
Well, I think the special relationship is very much in inverted commas, quite honestly. We are two nations divided by the same language. I mean, that's the truth of the United States. They do talk a different language from us. I think, as I said to you, I think this is definitely left over from President Trump. I think that for their part, the UK authorities are saying, yeah, we'll tax tech companies. We don't mind at all. I think there's a lot of debate going on at the moment. It's positioning, it's political, it's Joe Biden flexing his muscles and so on. There are no giveaways in this world. You've got to fight for every bit of market share, and I think that's what the UK will have to do. I think the tax will probably happen. I suspect this will be a storm in a teacup, quite honestly. It's not about a lot of money, as I said. I think it'll actually disappear. As far as the water cooler is concerned, yes, I'll tell you something. You don't. But also what you need to do is what people like me did when we started off in this business. You copy what other people do. You need to be working alongside colleagues who've been there longer. You have everything to gain from their experience, and you're younger than they are. What could be better than that?
I mean, excellent insight there. Okay, Dr.
Michael, I wanted you yesterday to talk about Myanmar. It looks like the military authorities in Myanmar, they're proven untouchable. The U.S. has imposed some sanctions on two major military establishments, companies. But, you know, the killings continue. Over 440 persons killed. And the Security Council, the UN Security Council, has been very quiet, perhaps because of Russia and China. What else can the world do to get, you know, the people who have seized control in Myanmar, in terms of sanctions, I mean, since the US sanctions do not seem to have made any difference? That's one. The second point has to do with the cotton war. China is fighting back. It has launched a boycott of major brands from the Western axis, H&M, Adidas, Nike. Who is going to blink first in that cotton war with regard to the human rights abuses reported about the people in the Xinjiang region with regard to the Uyghur Muslims, I'm told. Uyghur, yes, that's the correct pronunciation.
That is Uyghur, yeah, that's it. Right, so as far as me, well, you're taking me onto sort of political ground here. It's not really part of my expertise, but what I would say about it is, as far as sanctions are concerned, it won't make any difference because Myanmar is basically a failed state now. That's the latest. That's what I'm reading. And that you know, when you have military and power like that, you know, you give up everything. I mean, it was moving from where it was, as we used to call it, Burma, was moving towards a high-tech industry. All that's gone now. You know, you don't really know what's going on. But when the military take control, that's not a very good sign. And as far as sanctions are concerned, they won't care about it. I mean, I fear for the populace, quite honestly. They've got a military government who won't be taking any care, won't be actually worrying about sanctions at all. It is a failed state. It won't work. We'll see how it goes. As far as China's concerned, who'll blink first? Well, if these international companies are anything to go by, then commerce will blink first. I think they probably will, because they don't don't want to lose their foothold in the country. And Chinese authorities are very good at clamping down. They'll make life very difficult for H&M and Nike. Remember that what happened was it was H&M and Nike who drew the world's attention to their own suppliers, which is a rather weird thing to do, from Xinjiang province. And they worried about what the farmers and the pickers were virtually working slave labor. So the state broadcaster started to, as I said to you last week, dragging out farmers and interviewing them. And the farmers were saying, oh no, it's absolutely fine. We're having a lovely time here. We really like the work. Now, who do you believe? I think that commerce will blink first, Doctor. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I've got many questions to ask, but no time, Michael. But thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you. For updates on COVID-19 pandemic, we'll move quickly to Adesso Moro. Adesso, great to have you.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Dr. Abate, and good morning, Tinubu. It's good to know that none of you is contributing to medical tourism this morning. Anytime this week?
Yeah.
Great. So let's look at the global figures as regards COVID-19 pandemic. Another 455,000 cases were recorded globally yesterday, as well as over 7,000 deaths in the last 24 hours, bringing the total to what you have on your screen, courtesy the Johns Hopkins University. Well, here in Nigeria, the country recorded another all-time low with 48 new infections and 1 death from 8 states. The most infections came in from Lagos, recording 13 cases. But let's take a look at the immunization campaign against COVID-19 in Nigeria, as we are beginning to do daily. According to the NPHCDA data, over 53,000 people were vaccinated in the last 24 hours across the Federation yesterday, except in Kogi State. And speaking of Kogi State, well, reasoning seems to be prevailing, as the state yesterday indicated it will be receiving COVID-19 vaccine from the federal government. And in a tweet from the official Twitter handle of the NPHCDA, it reveals that the boss, Dr. Faiza Shuaib, was in Kogi State yesterday to meet with Governor Yahaya Bello, and he described the meeting as excellent. However, it is not clear how soon Kogi will receive the vaccine and when it will commence vaccination. You will recall that Kogi State had a problem with its cold chain storage, so we don't know if that has been repaired and when that will start. Meanwhile, the governor of Yobe State and the interim national chairman of the ruling APC has received his first jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine. He becomes the latest governor to take a jab in front of the cameras. Away from Nigeria, good news for African countries. Now, the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust Team, the AVAT, has signed an agreement with Johnson & Johnson for 400 million doses of its single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. According to this agreement, 220 million doses will be delivered to 55 countries beginning from the third quarter of this year. Then an additional 180 million doses will be available in 2022, bringing in total to 400 million. And Johnson & Johnson is saying that most of these doses will be produced in Africa, South Africa to be precise, from the Aspen Pharma Care in the country. It still needs to get authorization from regulators in different African countries, but you recall that the World Health Organization approved it for emergency use earlier this month. And finally, as the world awaits the publication of the expert reports from their investigation mission in Wuhan, China, the WHO DG says all hypotheses into the origins of the novel coronavirus are on the table and warrants complete and further study. Mr. Ghebreyesus revealed that the report had actually been received over the weekend and sent to member states under embargo. Now, a briefing with member states is expected sometime today, and then the reports will be made public. Meanwhile, the U.S. has reacted. The U.S. says it will wait for its own 17-member review committee set up by the Joe Biden administration to look at the report before announcing any steps forward.
I mean, I can just imagine what will happen in that report. There were some snippets of that report that broke, yes, and the source didn't want to be confirmed and or named. He went ahead to say that the hypothesis that China was able to make the World Health Organization believe was the bat hypothesis from animals and the likes, but it's subject to confirmation. But that will always be the case because there was no level of transparency in that whole process in the first place. It was shrouded in a lot of secrecy, and I keep repeating, only God knows what China did do there. I want to raise a big concern at this morning. I did a little bit of stats, and I'm very iffy at the way the numbers of coronavirus patients have dropped in Nigeria. We're recording about 100 from over 1,000 at a point just a couple of months ago. when the world is talking about a third lockdown. And the shocking part for me, it looks as though we feel coronavirus is over in Nigeria, because see what happened in Rivers State. Governor Wike throwing a big party for Burna Boy and some other people, which was good to celebrate Burna Boy. But I'm shocked because it's this same Governor Wike that demolished somebody's house because of COVID-19. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are not wrong.
So I'm shocked. And he had that mammoth crowd and there were no face masks. So is it that we feel coronavirus is over in this country because the vaccines are here, because we have 4 million vaccines for a population of over 200 million? Because I don't get what is happening, and all of a sudden the numbers have just gone down from over 1,000. So there's nothing called geographic progression. The numbers have just gone up from over 1,800 cases to over 100 cases a day. Is it that we've stopped testing or we've just moved on again as usual? I mean, somebody should tell me what's happening here. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I actually want to say good for Governor Yahaya Bello. We've criticized him on this show repeatedly, and I'm glad to see him, with an inkling of what democracy is about. It's about continued responsiveness and accountability. You give the people what they want and you bend to their will. Whether or not he personally will take the vaccine or not, I think it will be a great coup if somebody like him, a huge COVID vaccine skeptic person, were to take it publicly. But even if he doesn't, other people do have the right to take it, so he deserves to be commended for that.
Well, I think we should commend the Director General of the MPACDA, who went to see Governor Yahaya Bello, and also the Nigeria Governors Forum that objected to the position of Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State on the COVID-19 vaccine. And to see that after that meeting between Dr. Faisal Shaib and Governor Yahaya Bello, Kogi State finally has agreed that the people of Kogi State can be vaccinated and protected against COVID-19. As Tono pointed out, yes, on this program, we have been very harsh with Governor Yahaya Bello in terms of his reaction to whether there is COVID-19 in Kogi State or not. But it's good to see that reason has prevailed at the end of the day. We're told that today Kogi State would receive the COVID-19 vaccine doses. We're also hoping that Governor Yahaya Bello would announce an immunization program in Kogi State, and that those vaccines will not just be received and put somewhere else. And that also, if the cold storage chain in Kogi State has not yet been worked on, if it is not working, that the MPACDA and the NCDC, the Federal Ministry of Health, will move in there to assist the Kogi State government to fix that cold storage chain. This is not about what Governor Yahaya Bello thinks. It's about public health. It's about a public health national emergency. Yes. And the people of Kogi State themselves and the stakeholders in that state, they've been too quiet. And they need to be called out. All the educated people in Kogi State, they've been allowing this governor to just impose his own preference on the people in that state. Well, we're told that it is voluntary. Nobody will be forced to take the vaccine. But Governor Yahaya Bello would convince us, it will make sense if he provides the leadership that is required from him, as we have seen other governors and also at the level of the presidency, showing that leadership. He may be like me, somebody who is afraid of the needle, but he occupies an important position and he needs to be interested in his own safety. We will not say, because he has been attacking science, that he should take the option of risking his own life.
All right, thank you so much, Adesua, for your time.
Thank you.